David, thank you.
Criminal gangs are mixing cocaine with a chemical which causes cancer. The warning comes on the day that new figures show this country is one of the worst in Europe for cocaine use. Senior officers fighting drug crime have launched a campaign to shame users of the drug by showing the devastation caused by its production. Here's our home editor, Mark Easton.
Anti-drug officers are at the scene of a West London raid which has yielded more than 60 kilos of chemicals to be used, they believe, by cocaine gangs. The Serious Organised Crime Agency is targeting criminals who import cheap drugs used as so-called cutting agents to dilute cocaine. The seizures come amid new warnings that the most commonly found cutting agent, phenacetin, causes cancer.
Phenacetin is a painkiller that is no longer used in the Western world because it causes cancers of the bladder and the kidney, and it also causes kidney failure. It's therefore a drug that people should not snort up their nose.
While the price of cocaine at source is rising, prices on the street are falling, and it's cutting agents which explain why. Top quality cocaine is 70% pure, but drug gangs use other cheaper chemicals like phenacetin to dilute the cocaine and increase their profits. These days, 30% purity is commonplace on British streets.
People are taken in by this nonsense that it's some sort of champagne of drugs. It's not. Unlike real champagne, which is subject to very strict manufacturing controls, this is just basically rubbish. Firing gun.
Customs officers have unveiled new equipment designed to detect even tiny amounts of cocaine on clothing or luggage. But such high-tech kit has only a marginal impact on the avalanche of cocaine pouring into Britain. Investigators not only want to stop supply, they also want to undermine demand. And that means de-glamorizing cocaine, exposing the stories of suffering which accompany every line. Drug agents want to shame recreational users of cocaine. These are the children exploited in its production in Colombia. The villagers who've lost limbs because drug cartels use landmines to protect their crops. And the consequences for the environment. Drugs officers also point to the increasing use of live dogs to smuggle cocaine into Europe. These animals are cut open and bags of the drug secreted inside them.
It's a horrible sight. Some of these animals, I think, in fact, I believe most of them died. But it's an obscene way to carry drugs. Who would do that to an animal?
Cocaine may have a glamorous image, the drug of choice at some middle-class dinner parties. But Britain's anti-drug agencies say users must bear some responsibility for the suffering it causes.
Mark's in the studio now. Mark, the idea of de-glamorizing cocaine that you were talking about there in your report, will that really work, do you think?
Well, the figures out today show that 5% of young people in Britain have used cocaine in the past 12 months. That's the scale of the challenge that the agencies are trying to reduce. We've spoken to cocaine users here today to try and find out whether they think this campaign to try and, as you say, de-glamorize this drug will work. Scarlett is just one person who wrote to us. She's 32, from Chester, and an administrator. She says about the threat of cancer, it's a bit worrying, she says, but it's not going to put me off. But interestingly, another person we spoke to, Eve, who's 27, from Chester, a shop manager, says that the moral issues do worry her. Cruelty against animals, she says, would stop me taking cocaine. I do think those pictures of the dogs, strangely, almost more powerfully than perhaps those awful pictures too from Colombia of the damage to human beings, may shock some people into thinking twice.
As you said, powerful stuff. Mark Easton, thank you.